This is a story with a beginning, but it has no end. The outlines of the story are the silhouettes of factories. This is the story of industrial India. Another day begins. The call for work fills the morning. In response, millions of workers stream into the factories around the country. It is a fairly familiar sight, yet not long ago, it was not all that familiar. There was a time when workers like Madhav were strangers to these familiar surroundings. A little over a decade ago, around 1950, Madhav was just a blacksmith. Working with outdated implements, his was a hard life in search of a living. It does not really matter where he lived or where he hailed from. For the village he lived in could have been any of the innumerable villages of India. His family and his aspirations for a better life, akin to many other families and countless other aspirations. But how does one turn aspirations into fulfillment, dreams into reality? The plant that has come to Madhav's village is the answer. The beginning of an effort. But how did this plant come to be here, or some other in a different place, in yet another village? The answer lies in the response to Madhav's urge and that of millions of other urges, in planning for prosperity, in the 5-year plans which began in 1951. The factories and chimneys that now dot the skyline are the first intimations of a new order. To begin at the beginning, there is steel. This metal has come to symbolize the age we live in. Steel touches every aspect of life. That is why Bhilai, Durgapur and Rourkela. That is why Bokaro in the near future. Each one of them with the capacity to manufacture 1 million tons of steel a year. And when they're expanded to increase production by nearly 6 times in the near future, steel will have taken its rightful place in the nation's industrial development. In the story of this compressed metal is locked a significant part of the story of industrial India. When stretched, if elaborated, that story can be seen to have many facets, different dimensions. Aluminium, for example. It is a versatile metal used for a variety of productive purposes, and new uses are being discovered constantly. So even as we produce around 18,000 tons of aluminium, we are planning to more than quadruple it by 1966. Metals are only the means to an end, not an end in themselves. And so enterprises like the Hindustan Machine Tools have come into being to manufacture machines. Machines for making machines. Other machine tool works are joining this pioneer venture in the near future. The measure of self-sufficiency lies in our ability to manufacture for ourselves and in the manner we feed our factories with raw materials and transport the finished goods for marketing. This is the job of the railways, to cover the land, to bring people together, to keep the factories going, all demanding expansion of the railway network. The decade, therefore, has witnessed the laying of nearly 2,000 kilometers of new lines, the doubling of over 2,000 kilometers of single track, and the commissioning of a considerable amount of rolling stock. But what use lines, and how long can the locomotives, the wagons and the coaches last if we cannot make them ourselves? So Chittaranjan came into being, aided by Jamshedpur in the manufacture of locomotives. Reacting to the changing pattern of things, Chittaranjan is also building diesel and electric locomotives. Its counterparts in Madras and Bangalore build coaches and wagons. Can we be content with this? What of the sea and our long coastline? What of the exportation of our goods to other countries? The answer is reflected, in some measure, in the Hindustan shipyard at Visakhapatnam and in the growth of shipping tonnage. When total shipping nearly triples itself by 1966, and when a second shipyard at Cochin is commissioned, the answer will have gathered more content. The automobile has not yet come into the common man's life in India, as it has done in some other countries. It may well be some time before it does. But the foundations are laid in the existing production of a variety of road transport, and in the manufacture of over 60% of their components within the country. There will be greater cause for satisfaction when we make all the parts ourselves. What price all this effort if it were to bear fruit only in the future? Not always can people wait for things to turn up. This is the basis of the effort that built up fertilizer production from 18,000 tons to nearly 10 times that much. All this geared to ensure freedom from hunger, for the production of more and more food to feed all of us and the many millions that join us each year. Then there is cloth, as much a symbol of our rising expectations as any of our other products. To meet our expanding needs, cloth production is being considerably stepped up to an annual figure of over 9,000 million yards by 1966. It is quite some distance from 1951, when yearly production was just about half that figure. Self-sufficiency is our goal, to make the things we need, to build the structures we desire. In a more literal sense, cement will do that building, the building of not merely factories, but of roads and dams, cementing with its strength the links between village and town, town and city, people and people. Perhaps all this cannot be done with 9 million tons of cement a year. Even the 13 million tons we expect to produce by the end of the third plan may not be sufficient. But it certainly makes a good start. Growing construction activity will add a fresh dimension to the scale of our effort. Food for the belly, cloth for the body, a roof above. These are the three objectives of the plan. But these are not the only objectives. Somewhere in the heart of India, a small lighted kerosene lamp tells the story of other objectives, such as the exploitation of the country's mineral resources. Like food, oil has to be extracted from the soil. And to the extent we extract more of it, to that extent, the many lamps in the many houses will be lit. The wheels of our industry will be lubricated. The oil discovered in Assam and Gujarat and the refineries constructed to process the oil hold out the promise of better things to come. Together with oil, electricity holds the key to development. The wires that bring light also carry the power that can move our industries, supply us with goods, and give us employment. So, over a decade and a half, the many hydroelectric and thermal power projects have pushed our capacity from 2.3 million kilowatts to more than double that figure. By 1966, this will go up a further 2.5 times. A beginning has also been made in the manufacture of electrical equipment. Witness to this is the Bhopal Heavy Electrical Project, designed to produce 250 million rupees worth of equipment annually. Other heavy electrical projects will join it in the years to come. During the years 1951-1961, investment in industries, power, transport and communications amounted to over 35,000 million rupees. In the 5 years of the current plan, even greater sums are slated for expenditure. Industrial production was almost doubled during the first two plans. By the end of the third plan, it is expected to rise a further 70%. What do these cold figures mean? Do they add up to something significant? Have they radically transformed our lives? The answer is, not yet, for they mark only the beginning of an effort to give us a better deal, to make available more things today than a decade ago. In the case of workers like Madhav, it has meant a change. Not perhaps to warrant ecstasy, but a change for the better all the same. There are freer surroundings and new hopes for him and his family. The substance, then, of a decade of development is in the endeavor to bring about a change in the life of the people, in the variety of things which India now produces. Certainly none of these are enough for our needs. Certainly there is a long way to go, a lot of road yet to be covered. But the first steps have been taken. The shape of a different and more acceptable future is being slowly molded.